Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to a special Saturday edition of the Watchman Newscast live stream. Haven't gotten a lot of sleep the past 48 hours, as you might imagine. We want to bring you these breaking updates on war. Yes, it is war between Israel and Iran right now, and a big breakthrough. And look, who knows how long this war will last? Is it days? Is it weeks for Israel to accomplish what it needs to accomplish? The dismantlement of Iran's nuclear weapons program and a massive dent in Iran's ballistic missile and military capabilities. Those are the goals. Israel so far making stunning gains on both counts. But listen, the war itself, I think, obviously Thursday night here in the States, Friday morning early in the Middle East. What an opening salvo by Israel, historic. People are comparing to the Six-Day War, to the Peeper operation, to the Entebbe raid, that kind of incredible operation. But as big of an opening salvo as that was, I think bigger things perhaps are yet to come. And I'm thinking of the Fordo nuclear facility. And that's fortified deep underground. And folks, we're hearing rumblings that perhaps the United States could help Israel dismantle that particular facility. Already, the Natanz nuclear facility, which was above ground, a key uranium enrichment site for the Iranian regime, destroyed. Isfahan, another Iranian nuclear site, has taken heavy blows as well. But here's the big takeaway now. As this continues to rage, and we're hearing reports, it's about 3 o'clock Texas time right now, which means it's about 11 o'clock p.m. in the Middle East. But we're hearing reports Iran may be preparing another ballistic missile barrage, or maybe several barrages, God forbid, at Israel. But here's a big takeaway. You see the title of this live stream, you see the thumbnail, Tehran, target Tehran. The skies above Tehran, the Iranian capital, are now fully controlled by the Israel Defense Forces. From Western Iran, along the Persian Gulf, all the way to Tehran, Israel has control of the airspace. Israeli fighter jets, they've established that in less than 48 hours. It's amazing. It's stunning. The hand of God is in this, the God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, no doubt. Another miraculous, I don't use that word lightly, operation by the Israeli military. We've seen many of them over the decades, right? And in particular, just in the past year alone. But I should say year and a half since the October 7th massacre, which wouldn't have happened without the Iranian regime, by the way, which is now getting its comeuppance. But Benjamin Netanyahu spoke earlier today. He said, we now have established air superiority over Tehran. And I say all that to say, I make that point. I'm telling you about potential Iranian missile barrages. And already we saw several in the past 24 hours. Tel Aviv, Israel's second largest city, massive strikes there from Iranian ballistic missiles, at least 200 Israelis wounded and 3 more dead, killed by these Iranian ballistic missiles. And yet, by the grace of God, most of these missiles, the overwhelming majority, in addition to a wave of 100 Iranian drones that were fired earlier, have been intercepted. Israel, obviously incredible missile defense systems, Iron Dome, David's Sling, the Arrow missile system, but the United States also helping Israel intercept these incoming projectiles, but you can't get all of them. I mean, the sheer volume of the number of missiles being fired from Iran, it's sadly, some get through. Like even Hamas rockets and Hezbollah rockets, they got through despite the incredible Iron Dome and other air defense systems in Israel. But the scale of the damage, I want you to remember this, folks, because you'll see, look, scenes of some nasty scenes out of Tel Aviv, the aftermath of Iranian missile attacks. But remember this could have been thousands, literally thousands of times worse. Israel, incredibly, took out Iranian ballistic missile stockpiles back in an October 2024 strike in Iran. And then over the past 48 hours, Israel has concentrated very much on those Iranian ballistic missile stockpiles. That's number one. So this, I mean, Israel averted what could have been as bad as it is. Any missiles falling, anyone dying, getting wounded. This is bad. Tel Aviv is Israel's second largest city, again. But Israel, in many ways, averted a potential catastrophe by acting preemptively and taking out those ballistic missile stockpiles. Remember, Iran, at least it did, has the largest ballistic missile stockpile in the entire Middle East. But key takeaway, Tehran now, Bibi is saying everything's fair game because Iran intentionally, with those ballistic missile barrages, intentionally targeted Israeli civilians. Israel's hitting military sites, nuclear sites, not civilian areas, because Israel knows, and Bibi made that clear in a speech yesterday where he gave a shout out to the Iranian people. Israel knows the people of Iran are the main victims of the Iranian regime. The people of Iran are not Israel's enemies. It's this wicked regime that for the past 46 years has had its jackboot on the necks of the Iranian people. Israel gets that. And while regime change is not an official mantra here, or at least a stated goal of the Israeli government, it's a possibility. Folks, we've got reports of planes leaving Iran, civilian planes. There's been rumblings that perhaps Iranian government officials are on those planes. We don't know. It may not be the case. There's all sort. Look, I've been using the term fire hose. This is the third day in a row I'll say it. There's so much information coming out from so many sources in the region. You got to weed through it. You got to be discerning. Would I be shocked if Iranian officials are putting their tails between their legs and hightailing it out of there? No. But I will say, if they do that, that means that they believe their regime is about to fall. And then they'll be taken and perhaps hung in the public square. That's how Bashar al-Assad left, right? Back in December 2024. He got out of Dodge. He saw the writing on the wall. He was on the next plane to Moscow, where he's still living in exile. More on that, by the way, Vladimir Putin's reaction to what's happening in Israel and Iran and possible prophetic implications there in a second. But if the Iranian leadership is getting out of Dodge, so to speak, they're not going to be just allowed to return. So that would be massive if they're leaving the country. Again, we don't know, but there's been rumblings. Let's just say that. And why would they seek to leave? Well, now Tehran is open season, and Israel said, look, Israel Katz, and that's in the title of this live stream today. He's Israel's defense minister. He said, quote, Tehran will burn if Iran continues to launch ballistic missiles at Israeli civilian and population centers. There you go. And Bibi confirmed that in his speech. We now have full operational control over the skies of Tehran. I mean, number one, what a humiliation for the Iranian regime. After really a year and a half of humiliations, on October 7th, 2023, they were at their zenith. Iran and its proxies. My word. I mean, look, they invaded Israel. Hamas, at the behest of the Iranian regime, which trained, funded, supported Hamas, which helped plan everything. But Hamas acted too soon, by the way, to Israel's benefit in the long run, certainly not in the short term after the massacre. But Hamas had invaded Israel. Think of this, folks. Think of the complete turnaround, the 360 in a year and a half. Hamas invaded Israel, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis, men, women, children, Holocaust survivors, dragged 240 plus more back into captivity in the bowels of hell and underneath Gaza. At the same time, Hezbollah was launching rockets, feeling good, feeling confident. Shia militias in Iraq, Iranian-backed, of course, were firing drones. The Houthis were firing drones and missiles. Iran itself was sitting back and watching this all move on the chessboard, its ring of fire that it had meticulously built up for decades. It was now all coming to fruition in their view. I use the word, it was their zenith. It was their high point. Israel was never weaker. The Iranian axis was never stronger in their view. And then the tide turned. On October 7th, the Iranian regime, certainly Hamas and Hezbollah, but by extension, the head of the snake, the Iranian regime, the Houthis, Bashar al-Assad, they signed their own death warrant. They thought it was their moment of greatest triumph for Allah and for jihad and to wipe the Zionist entity off the map. This was a massive, massive advance. And the world was shrieking and wailing and gnashing its teeth and turning against Israel. It still is, by the way. The Ayatollahs felt they had the wind at their backs. And then everything changed. They underestimated Israel. Fatal mistake. They underestimated Benjamin Netanyahu. They underestimated the Israel Defense Forces. They underestimated the will of the people of Israel, and they underestimated Donald Trump and his support for the world's one and only Jewish state. Fatal mistakes. Now Hamas and Hezbollah both lie in ruins. Hezbollah actually released a statement just yesterday, folks. And remember, they were the crown jewel of the Iranian regime. Iran's most lethal proxy released a statement yesterday saying, we're not getting involved. I mean, the reason Iran built Hezbollah up to the tune of 150,000 rockets and missiles in its possession, countless drones, foot soldiers, all the rest, over a period of decades, was for this very day. When Israel struck Iran's nuclear facilities, Iran was going to unleash Hezbollah. Or which they did do, they used Hezbollah for years as the ultimate deterrent. Israel won't dare strike us because they know if they do, we will unleash Hezbollah and set the nation on fire. Hezbollah can reach every corner of Israel. Israel's the size of the state of New Jersey, a tiny country. Now that's all gone. Hezbollah is in its, it's licking its wounds. It's a shell of what it was. It's not even launching rockets now. It may still, folks, don't get me wrong. Hezbollah still has missiles and rockets, but its entire leadership has been eliminated. Who's running the store in southern Lebanon? Hamas, obviously, in its death throes, and Palestinian Islamic Jihad as well, another Iranian proxy operating in Gaza. Assad is gone from Syria. The Houthis have sustained heavy blows. And now that the Iranian supply chain, or the supply chain from its Iranian masters, will probably be cut off now, the Houthis are in big trouble. We haven't heard much from those Shia militias in Iraq either. Look, this may all change in the days, hours to come. The Ring of Fire, what's left of it, look, they still have weapons. They're not completely defeated, but, they're in bad shape. But it may ignite. I pray that's not the case. But I say all that to say the Ring of Fire has collapsed. Iran itself, back in October, after it launched, by the way, in 2 separate incidents, a total of 500 projectiles at Israel, ballistic cruise missiles, drones, nearly all of which were intercepted. Not one Israeli was killed, at least in those exchanges. As I said, in the past 24 hours, we've had, sadly, 3 Israelis killed, 200 wounded. Iran took lessons from its 2 failed attempts last year. But in response to that, in late October 2024, Israel destroyed much of Iran's air defenses, took out a secret nuclear facility, and took out some ballistic missile stockpiles and military capabilities. And now you have Israel with a stunning, historic, incredible, one of the most incredible operations in modern warfare, in the history of modern warfare. So Iran has watched the Ring of Fire collapse. It's watched Donald Trump, its greatest enemy other than Israel, come back in office. Now it's watching its nuclear program dissolve before its eyes. Choices have consequences. And the Iranian regime, in its arrogance, its overconfidence, its jihadist, fanatical, demonic zeal, a death cult, fanatical, Nazi-like death cult, they made bad decisions, bad choices. And now the regime itself teeters on the brink. Folks, I got to break down for you. You're going to want to hear this. If you're underestimating just how lethal and successful and effective this Israeli Operation Rising Lion, that's what it's called, Operation Rising Lion. If you don't realize just how effective it has been, I'm about to name the big fish in the Iranian regime. Heavy hitters who've been eliminated in just less than the past 48 hours alone. In a second, I want to share that. I want to share what Vladimir Putin is saying and what Donald Trump is saying and what America may do. But first, 2 quick notes. Number 1, hey, if you like what you're hearing, current events, breaking news, mainly from Israel and the Middle East, but we hit everywhere, the whole geopolitical world. Make sure to subscribe. Click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. It's current events, breaking news from an unapologetically biblical perspective. Imagine that. That's number 1. Be sure to subscribe. Number 2, last night on TBN. I've got the YouTube, the digital side of things, and I host a broadcast show every night on broadcast TV on TBN, the world's largest Christian television network, called Stakelbeck Tonight, every weeknight, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, with a re-air at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, last night, we had a 90-minute live special report. I'm live with you now. I love live TV. I love live streams. I just love it. It's a different energy. But we went live for 90 minutes, had incredible guests. The Israeli ambassador to the United States, Yair Pinto from TBN Israel, on the ground in Jerusalem. Awesome show. When you subscribe to the channel, it's right there, folks, on the homepage. Israel and Iran at war. That's the thumbnail. You'll see it there. It already has about 500,000 views, 500,000 views, and we posted it just about 15 hours ago. Crazy. So check that 90-minute special out and check out all that we're doing here. We're going to be coming to you, I have a sneaking suspicion, every day, 7 days a week for a while, as this campaign Rising Lion continues. But, okay. You might say, well, you know, everyone's kind of amazed by this Israeli assault. Well, what's the big deal? Okay, well, number one, they destroyed the Natanz uranium enrichment facility, massive. Isfahan's on its way to being destroyed. Other facilities are being hit as well, nuclear facilities. Ballistic missile stockpiles being decimated. Now gas and maybe even oil refineries will be targeted because Iran made in a series of fatal miscalculations since October 7th, 2023, which I just laid out for you, signing their own death warrant ultimately. And look, the regime, God forbid, may survive this. I don't know. But among the miscalculations occurred with its military leadership essentially out in the open. If they really, I've called it the swerve. President Trump, Prime Minister Netanyahu telegraphed to the world, hey, we're not on the same page. Trump doesn't agree with Bibi. Trump doesn't want Israel to do this. Behind the scenes, completely different story. Trump and Bibi were able to fool the Iranian leadership, lull them to sleep in their arrogance and their overconfidence. They said, Israel will never do it. The Zionist entity, the little Satan and the great Satan, they're in disagreement, as they call Israel in America. Trump won't let them. We're on easy street. They're not going to strike. So they all slept in their own beds and gathered in the same place Thursday night late. Didn't go so well for them. Another serious miscalculation. Here's what we have. If you're wondering what Israel's accomplished, the missile stockpiles, oil and gas, which are now, because of that miscalculation of hitting civilian targets in Tel Aviv, Israel's going to unleash hell. And part of that, we're talking about accomplishments. Israel, the IDF announced today, June 14th. By the way, happy Father's Day to all my fellow dads out there. Father's Day is tomorrow here in the United States, June 15th. Have a blast with your families, your loved ones, all the dads out there. God bless you all. But the IDF announced, got the news right here, on Saturday, June 14th, that it had killed more than 20 Iranian commanders, including the heads of military intelligence and Iran's missile forces. Now, that's big. The missile forces, we've been talking about those ballistic missile barrages, right? That's only in the opening phase of Operation Rising Lion. Now, Israel has not targeted any political leaders yet that we know of, although a top advisor to the supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, was killed in that opening salvo early Friday morning. This was at the very start of the operation. Israel decimated the Iranian regime's military and security chain of command. The strikes, just reading this straight from our friends at JNS, the strikes carried out by Israeli Air Force fighter jets and guided by precise intelligence from the IDF Intelligence Directorate targeted key figures in the Iranian regime's security and military apparatus, delivering what Israeli officials describe as an unprecedented blow to Tehran's operational capabilities. Among those killed in the initial strikes, Brigadier General Golam, sounds like Golam and similar spirit, Golam Reza Mabi, head of the Intelligence Directorate in the Iranian Armed Forces General Staff. He was Iran's most senior intelligence officer, of course. The Armed Forces Chief of Staff, Major General Mohammad Hossein Bagheri, also killed. And IRG, the head of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, which really I would describe as kind of Iran's version of the Nazi SS. They had a hand in everything, answer only to the supreme leader. Hossein Salami, yes, that is his last name. He's gone. And General Golam Ali Rashid, the head of Iran's Air Force, he's gone. I mean, the list goes on. It's actually incredible. And it's reminiscent of that September, of those successive September 2024 strikes against Hezbollah, Nasrallah taken out, the Hezbollah leader, Hassan Nasrallah, then Hezbollah's entire Radwan unit, its entire military leadership. Israel just duplicated that in Iran, but man, the scale, the magnitude, and the stakes are much higher here. I mean, it's absolutely stunning. And how did they do it? Well, again, these guys were overconfident and sleeping in their own beds, reportedly. But secondly, I mentioned the word intelligence, or the IDF did a minute ago. Folks, the intelligence, Israel has had assets on the ground in Iran for years and years. We've reported that extensively here in the live stream. But listen, Israel actually had Mossad agents on the ground who unleashed drones from inside Tehran. How they did it, maybe there will be a movie made about it. Between this operation, Operation Exploding Pager, there needs to just be a movie, a film about the October 7th wars. I mean, because Israel, they will be studying these operations if we're still here in 30 years. These operations will be studied by historians, military analysts, military strategic analysts. Just stunning, incredible. But the regime's decimated. I mean, yeah, they can fire ballistic missiles, but who's calling the shots right now? Who's minding the store? Khamenei himself giving orders directly? That's a big question. But the intelligence to do that, to establish those kinds of intelligence assets on the ground inside Iran. And certainly there were many Iranian assets, people who despise this wicked, demonic regime. And we pray for the Iranian people. Let me encourage you on that note. Iran, number one, has the largest fastest growing, I should say, Christian population in the world. I mean, growing by leaps and bounds, Iranians coming to Jesus despite relentless persecution. They're worshiping mostly in underground churches. And the regime's thugs are always looking for them to torture them, imprison them, kill them. But you can't stop the gospel. If history has proven anything, it's that you can't stop the gospel. So be encouraged by that. Be encouraged that Iran is a Bible land. That was ancient Persia. Mordecai, Esther, Cyrus, Darius from your Bible. That all unfolded in Iran. That was ancient Persia. God's not done with that country. So be encouraged. This has to happen. This wicked regime must be removed so the Iranian people can thrive. Iran and Israel were allies before this regime came to power 46 years ago in that 1979 Islamic jihadist revolution. And Iran and the U.S. were allies as well. So let's pray for the people of Iran right now. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem, of course. But I want you to know real quick what Vladimir Putin is saying, and you won't be surprised by this. He's condemning Israel's strikes in Iran and saying they must stop. Of course he is. Look, Putin and Iran have been attached at the hip for the past few years. They have a full-blown military alliance. And many believe, and he did a call today, or held a call, Putin did, with President Trump. And he kind of said to President Trump, they need to stop. And Trump said, well, maybe you should stop as well in your own war and mind your own business and kind of your own backyard, what's happening there. But I digress. But Putin's none too happy. Turkey is none too happy. And why is this worth mentioning? Well, many have been talking about it over the past 48 hours. Ezekiel's War. You might say, Ezekiel who? The prophet Ezekiel, in the book of Ezekiel, in your Bible, chapters 38 and 39, talks about a coming war. Funny name, the war of Gog and Magog. Remember, these are ancient names 2,500 years ago. But Persia is explicitly named in what Ezekiel calls a latter days invasion force of chiefly Islamic nations that will come against Israel. And most prophecy scholars, prophecy buffs agree that Iran and Turkey will certainly be part of that coalition. And many also believe Russia will as well. And the very cordial relations between Russia, Iran, and Turkey right now are probably no coincidence. And I think what we're seeing are prophetic events, precursors to major prophetic events playing out right now. And when the dust settles, if the dust settles, we will see Israel as the region's lone superpower. It really already was in many respects, but obviously being bogged down by war the past year and a half has made things tough. But Israel will have room to stretch, to breathe after Iran's regime is weakened severely. And they already have been. I mean, they already have been. So you've got Operation Rising Lion has established Israel as a powerhouse in every way. You know, the book of Deuteronomy, God tells Moses, you will be the head of the nations and not the tail. Folks, Israel, no matter, and right here in America, happy birthday to President Trump. Happy birthday to the U.S. military. 250th birthday for the military. Got left-wing wackos in the streets right now with this no kings nonsense. If there was a king, you wouldn't be able to hold your rally. It's just mad, but the left is insane and evil. So there's a lot going on, and there's Russia, Ukraine, but the world's attention in the days to come will be increasingly fixated on Israel and in particular on Jerusalem. And the prophet Zechariah had something to say about that. We're talking Ezekiel. What about Zechariah? Chapter 12, he said, Jerusalem in particular will become like a burdensome stone. Every nation will come against it, but anyone who comes against it will be cut to pieces. And if you look at a map, it's no coincidences, right? Israel, that tiny nation the size of the state of New Jersey, is literally the very center of the world geographically. Go ahead, look at a map. Israel is the center of the world geographically. Not only that, Jerusalem is the center of that center. You do the math. Hey, Jesus won't return to Berlin or DC or Tokyo or New York City or Moscow. He's returning to Jerusalem. Again, no coincidences here. The God of Israel is moving. When it comes to his people and his land, he neither slumbers nor sleeps. So we're about to have, I think, a major breakthrough here of historic, biblical, quite literally, proportions, where Israel will have put its enemies to heel, put its enemies to flight. And you're going to see other nations come into the Abraham Accords, including Sunni Arab nations you might not expect. Syria, Lebanon, the Saudis, it's all on the table now. It may not happen, but there's a distinct possibility now, at least, that it could happen. Fasten your seatbelts. This is the end, as Winston Churchill once said, one of my heroes, this is the end of the beginning. So the great thing is we'll be with you every step of the way. Our watchmen and women on the wall will be with you shoulder to shoulder, bringing you these updates for such a time as this. I appreciate you all so much joining me on a Saturday, and I'll very, very likely be spending Father's Day with you as well with another update tomorrow live. Hey, remember to check out that show we did, that special report last night, right here on the homepage under videos. Check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. And well, I don't know if it's enjoy is the word, but you'll be informed, put it that way, with some great guests. Until tomorrow, God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.